Any business transformation today, the central portion of it is transforming the people involved in the business. Because all businesses are technology businesses. If you're not driven by technology as a business, you're not going to last very long. Because technology produces innovation, technology produces efficiencies, which fundamentally means people in the business have to have the technical skills or digital skills to actually produce that efficiency, to produce the productivity or innovation for the business. So constantly changing technology, constantly changing innovation landscape means that we need to constantly upskill and reskill our employees. It is never one and done. It is not optional. It has become a core part of business transformation and business resilience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pallavi from People Matters. A very warm welcome to everyone joining us for this thought provoking conversation that goes into the heart of business transformation in the digital age with a specific focus on IT skills. Our theme for this interview is the technology edge structuring IT skills to future proof your business. I'm extremely thrilled to share that today's conversation is part of the Transformation in Action Week presented to you by Skillsoft in association with People Matters. This week long series of conversation aims to uncover the insights, strategies, and approaches that enable organizations to thrive amidst rapid change. With this conversation, we specifically aim to explore how companies are navigating the intricate path of skill transformation. We'll delve into the strategic nuances that underpin their efforts, from identifying the right IT skills that hold the key to a future proof business to fostering a culture of perpetual learning that keeps teams abreast of ever evolving technologies. It's my privilege and honor to introduce our guest for today, Apratim Purakayastha, who is the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Skillsoft. AP is responsible for the overall strategy and product roadmaps for the entire Skillsoft portfolio. In addition, he is responsible for engineering, cloud operations, and support for Skillsoft enterprise learning platforms. He is also responsible for the digital and IT infrastructure across all areas in the Skillsoft group of companies. Welcome, AP. Really excited to have you on board and take your insights on this crucial topic today.
Thank you, Pallavi, for the very warm introduction. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, without further ado, I would like to get into that conversation straight up. And to start this conversation, I would first like to know your thoughts on the significance of future proofing IT skills in today's rapidly changing technological landscape. And how does it contribute to an enterprise sustained relevance and growth?
Any business transformation today, the central portion of it is transforming the people involved in the business. Because all businesses are technology businesses. If you're not driven by technology as a business, you're not going to last very long. Because technology produces innovation, technology produces efficiencies, which fundamentally means people in the business have to have the technical skills or digital skills to actually produce that efficiency, to produce the productivity or innovation for the business. So constantly changing technology, constantly changing innovation landscape means that we need to constantly upskill and reskill our employees. It is never one and done. It is not optional. It has become a core part of business transformation and business resiliency.
In fact, AP, not just having those skills, but identifying that skills is, as crucial. So I would like to know, how could organizations effectively assess which skills are most valuable for actually future-proofing their businesses, not just for the current requirements, but also for the future?
Absolutely. I think there's a general answer, right? And there's also a specific answer for the organization, right? In general, if you step back for a moment and look at the changing landscape of technology over the last 5 years, right? There have been a tsunami of major changes, right? Just one thing after another. The importance of cyber and cybersecurity has gone up 10 times over the last 5 years. The adoption of cloud has probably actually gone up more than that. We have major cloud providers who are all growing double digits. Third, the AI revolution, if you may. AI has been brewing slowly for a while to come. It has been called many things. It has been called machine learning. It has been called data science. It has been called artificial intelligence. And now we have generative AI. So that's another third tsunami. Fourth, often overlooked and taken for granted, is mobile, right? People are becoming more and more and more mobile. So workflows have to be really, really first class on mobile devices. You know, mobile devices have penetrated more than half or two-thirds of the world population. So anything that does not feel first class on mobile is not useful anymore. So these are the 4 or 5 secular trends, right, that drive every company, right? Every company is driven by these secular trends. Now, if you look at a particular company, they are driven more by one or more of these trends, right? For example, if you look at a company in financial services, right? Cloud and cyber really takes a top stage as very urgent things to transform or learn. And then comes AI for efficiency, right? If you look at IT services, all of the above are important because their IT services are serving a broad class of businesses, right? If you look at transportation services and logistics services, things like cybersecurity and mobile become very important. Cloud is also important. So I think depending on the business and its core operations, these things are important in a different sequence. That being said, I also want to stress that although we are focused on technology skills need to be complemented all the time with what we call power skills, because we at the end we are all humans. We have to associate with each other, we have to work with each other. So things like agility, things like ability to work virtually and connect with people remotely and stay connected, things like what are the security implications of virtual work, things like understanding different cultures and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe they're equally important as technical skills. They're enabling skills and power skills. Without those, technical skills cannot be effective.
Well, rightly said. And talking about evolving technologies, very, very important aspect which I want to bring to light is the culture of continuous learning. So structuring IT skills involves not just training, but that culture, that having that culture of learning in a continuous manner. So how can companies ensure that their employees they embrace the culture and they stay up to date with all the evolving technologies? Some of them you mentioned just now. How would you look at that?
It's a great question, and it's the one most difficult to answer, to be honest, because it is an interesting combination of push and pull. And let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say you invest in a large content library and you just kind of make that available to your employees. Just say that, hey, you have 50,000 courses available. This is a catalog, and go learn, right? I haven't seen a very successful transformation which has business value with that approach. Go learn kind of an approach, right? Why would I want to learn? I have a full job. When do I have the time? What's in it for me? All those questions come up, right? So while it's appealing for people leaders or senior managers that we have, given a world of content to our learners, go learn, doesn't work, right? Just by itself. There's also another thing that is possibly useful but does not scale. So, for example, I have seen companies that are very well structured. They have learning departments that are reasonably staffed with reasonable automation that run purposeful learning programs. So, for example, they'll take 10,000 engineers and divide them up in cohorts and upskill them on cloud. They'll take 5,000 printer engineers, uh, divide them up into cohorts, and upskill them into digital. They'll take the whole company cohort by cohort and upskill them into diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So that's, let's call, prescribed learning. That's push learning, right? I think while that achieves measurable programmatic goals, in these cases, what's happening is somebody's running a program, somebody has shown an ROI for the program, gotten funding for the program, actually running a program. And these things actually work okay, right? They usually work well for those set of cohorts. But absent of any pull, it is very difficult to scale. So to me, learning is an yin and yang of push and pull. When we go to school and college, there's this little push required to form good habits, right? Not every student is self motivated. If you go back to our school and college days, not all of us were self motivated, but somehow we got into it. There was a homework that we didn't want to do, but we actually did it, and we kind of liked what we did, and we learned more. We grew in confidence, and then without the homework, we opened the book and started solving problems, right? So interest is not generated just like a kind of a basic act that comes organically. So it's a combination of exposing people to the right opportunities. It's a combination of programmatic learning, and it's a combination of putting learning as an activity that is rewarded and recognized. So for example, when we do performance evaluations, it should not always be about what you have achieved. It should also be about how you are shaping yourself for growth, which means, do you have a development plan? How does your development plan align with your career goals? How does your development plan align with the company strategy? And how does your development plan align with your colleagues that you are actually going to work with every day? So, if there's a development plan for every employee that is taken as seriously as the employee's performance and is actually part of employees' overall evaluation, then it takes to a different. Then it takes the impetus for learning to a different level, right? Come to think of it, it's natural, right? As we live our daily lives, we have to always look into the future, right? In our professional lives, as we are executing the current, if we don't look into the future, we'll fall short because the future is going to come. It'll overtake the current. So I think all of these push pull, having as part of individual development plans, will build culture, and keeping at it, right? Keeping at it is important, almost as hygiene. Building culture takes a long time. It's easy to get frustrated, but just keeping at it is important.
Well, thank you for explaining that so wonderfully. And this also brings me to a question around the online tools that we have. So maybe like a tool like Code Academy, which offers flexible, accessible ways to acquire IT skills. How do you look at these platforms? How they're aiding companies in addressing their skill development agendas, particularly in terms of hiring, upskilling, bench employees. How do you look at that?
They are massive enablers, right? They're massive enablers. The online tools are getting better and better, inclusive of Code Academy, as well as Skillsoft. They're getting better and better in understanding who the learner is, how to personalize the learning for the learner. Um, they're getting better and better at having relevant content, um, speed of content, and recency of content, and urgency of content. So they essentially scale the act of learning, right? Online, on demand tools with the right curriculum and the right content achieves a completely exponentially higher scale that can be achieved in a corporation without a tool, right? If all you depend is synchronous classroom virtual event learning, it's going to have a limited amount of scalability. So online tools, on demand learning fundamentally scales growth and development. That being said, there is room for multimodality. There is room for virtual online learning. For example, if you're going to get a certification in a topic, right? Deep certification, let's say in a security topic, people often form a fundamental basis through online learning and then actually take a virtual class to ensure the learning is complete, prepared for the tests that are coming up, go deep into a topic with an expert live in a class. So I think those are complementary, but I'll do the 80-20 rule, for example, right? I think 80 to 85% of the preparation or learning and growth could be on demand online for high stakes situation when you're going to take a certification, right? Or when you're preparing for something that is significant for your career, right? There is room for synchronous learning, be it a virtual or in a classroom.
Well, talking about the current, the thing, the facilitators, enablers, also brings me, the about the role of leadership. So, if you can elaborate on the role of leadership in driving the adoption of these online learning tools for IT skills development, and also how can leaders create a culture that values continuous learning and skill enhancement?
So, you know, nothing happens without leadership, really. I mean, leadership is key to transformation. We know that, right? And so, therefore, leadership is also key to workforce transformation and people transformation through growth and learning, right? Um, Leaders approach it in different ways, right? First and foremost, leaders can actually promote in every conversation, right? Every conversation with an employee, every conversation in a town hall, there has to be an impetus and stress put upon continuous growth and learning, right? As a survival technique, to be honest. But that's just the start, right? Town halls wear off about 2 hours after the town hall, right? I think to codify learning, there has to be, you could do a goals based measurement system like OKR, objectives and key results. Many companies I'm observing are putting learning OKRs in the leadership level, right? And then those OKRs are percolating down to the whole organization. I'll give you an example. You know, at Skillsoft, we have an OKR to grow our course completions across the company 10% year over year, right? So that's a 10% growth at the leadership level. Then at the functional level, people can be more specific. 10% growth in this area, or 7% in this area, and 15% in some other area, right? People can be more specific, taking that corporate goal and actually establishing individual functional OKRs. So it comes top down as not only a priority that is spoken, but a priority that is measured every quarter. And we actually measure completions. We actually measure badges that people have earned to promote a learning culture within the company. And I think companies are adopting more and more of these type of measurements. So I think words and measures both, when they go together, achieve the effect that we need.
Well, as we're moving towards the conclusion of this conversation, what would be your, your word of advice or something that you would like to suggest to businesses that are just beginning to explore the potential of online learning tools for future-proofing their IT skills?
My word of advice is speed, right? I don't think any business has the time to take a leisurely walk in the park in terms of upskilling and reskilling IT. It is an urgent need for every business. If you're falling behind for a day today, measured in tomorrow's effectiveness, you're falling behind by a week, because technology is changing exponentially. While you're falling behind one day, technology has moved ahead 7 days. So I think what I will say is upskilling and reskilling, not only just core technical matters, but things that make technologies more effective, such as the power skills that I mentioned, all together, is an urgent need for any business. It's not a nice to have anymore. It is an urgent, continuous performance need. And so, speed and urgency is my key piece of advice for those who might be listening.
Right, right. And just to summarize the entire steps that you spoke of, what would be that key area of focus according to you for a successful implementation? And also maybe one area which they need immediate attention, like one thing that they need to stop doing.
So, I think one thing that people need to stop doing is assume that throwing learning content at a population of people will do magic. They just need to stop doing that. It is more difficult than that. Achieving transformation is like giving budget to a department and hoping that projects complete, right? We don't do that with projects, right? People should stop thinking of learning as a benefit or an entitlement or something like that, right? So people should stop doing that. That's what they stop doing. And what they should start doing, to your point, I'll rise up to the meta point, is establish this push and pull culture in a very artful combination, right? It's an yin and yang of learning. It's like learning swimming. You don't want to get into the water, but you get a little push and, gentle push, knowing that you will not die in the shallow end of the pool. But you kind of, flutter around for a little bit. Then you learn swimming, and then you learn to love swimming. So that's the push
Right,
and pull
right.
culture I'm talking about. It's the yin and yang of learning. It's a little bit of push, generates pull, and that makes the next push more effective.
Well, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful insights, AP, and so much learning in today's conversation and all the inputs that you've shared.
You're most welcome, Pallavi. It's been my distinct pleasure to talk to you.
And for everyone who's watching this interview, thank you so much for tuning in. And just want to inform everyone that the Transformation in Action Week is still in progress. You can catch up with all the various activities that we're posting on the link provided with this video interview. For more details on how you can find custom learning programs that can transform your team from tech skills to leadership prep, log on to www.skillsoft.com. That's all in today's interview. Thank you so much.